Talk Show. Recorded live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the Black Science Fiction Society.com website. I am your host, William Hayashi, and this is the May 15th, 2015 edition. And today's special guest is Keshawn Dodds, who is, and I am looking right on the Amazon page, he is the author of, and I hope I pronounce all this right, MENZUO, The Calling of the Sun Prince. Is that correct?
Absolutely right. You hit it right on the button.
Okay, and then where are you coming to us from?
I am actually out of Springfield, Massachusetts, but right now I'm calling in from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, getting ready for the ECBOC, so the East Coast Black of Age Comic Con.
All right, we're going to get to that in a little while. One of the things I always ask is, what's the weather like where you are now? Is it nice?
It's nice, and it's full of pollen. So
yeah. Oh,
if you have allergies, you're hurting. But it is very nice. It's really nice.
I think it's like that in the upper half of the country, especially kind of like Midwest and Northeast. You got the trees popping. You got everything popping right now. It's bad here in Chicago too. So I commiserate with you. I would normally take drugs, but then I'd fall asleep during the show.
Right. I hear you.
All right, let's just jump right in. First of all, we know where you live. Is that where you grew up?
Absolutely. Born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts. I still live there with my wife and my daughter, my wife Tammy and my daughter Sydney. And I have my best friend and my dog, Barkley, who is the toughest Shih Tzu that you would ever know. So
okay.
that's my family.
That's not bad. That's kind of like, your average run-of-the-mill kind of nuclear family, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I love it.
That's great. And so having grown up there, Massachusetts was one of the places. I'm biracial, and I was born in the 50s. And my parents, when they met in Wisconsin, but when they decided to get married, they made a conscious decision to look where a biracial kid could be raised, like in the 50s. And one of the areas they looked at was the Cambridge area, because it's pretty mixed there, and or at least it was back then. The other was like San Francisco, because that's a huge melting pot, and plus there's a lot of Asians there. My dad's Japanese, my mom was black. They're both Japanese and black, even though they've passed, they still are. And then there was the kind of like the Hyde Park area, the University of Chicago area, and which is like right near where Barack Obama's house is. So we settled in Chicago, but it could have just as easily. I think if my dad would have gotten a job over by you, or at least by the Cambridge area, I would have ended up there too. So that's kind of cool. Right. And you say it's still pretty mixed, very cosmopolitan.
Oh yeah, the way the state is really put together, it's a big melting pot, and you have people from all over the world there, and it does a great job of giving you the full cultures of everyone. So you're not really feeling like you're just left out and you're not lost. But there are pockets that are like that aren't culturally diverse. Springfield, Massachusetts is very culturally diverse, and you grow up with every person that you could ever think of. So you're not really have that culture shock when you go to college or when you go to school outside of Springfield. You feel like you're right at home in every situation. So it's a beautiful place to be, even though things are, you have your pockets of violence, but it's still just a beautiful place, and I love being there.
Well, I think you get that everywhere. I mean, if I can be so bold, you can find assholes anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
There are certain states where you have a bigger percentage. Like I don't go to Texas, but I have friends who live there. So it just is what it is. So you went to elementary school and high school right there.
Right in Springfield, and it was so funny. Every time I tried to leave, I got stuck. I ended up being a great football player at my high school, Springfield Central High School, and I had opportunities to leave. And I ended up going to American International College right in Springfield, and they gave me a full scholarship, and I played there for 4 years. Well, actually, I played 5 years because I had a medical red shirt. and I got my degree from American International College in education psychology, sociology, and I actually triple majored and picked up political science by accident. So I was a big nerd and also an athlete, and I loved it.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah. Oh, you one of them smart, whatevers. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, look, I went to high school like in the early 70s, late 60s.
Right.
And that was when I discovered the trick to getting good grades. So I was taking the harder classes, heavy on science and math and stuff like that. And of course, being of color and doing that, I attracted some negative attention from people going, "Oh, you just want to be one of them smart, whatevers."
Right.
So
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool that you got to go through all of that and not leave that far from home. Did you stay home when you were in college, or?
No, I actually lived on the campus as well. So I mean, AIC it's an international college, so you have students from all over the world. And, people from Springfield, Mass., from New York, from Boston, Chicago, Washington, people from all over the country as well. So I had a great opportunity to be out of my house. It's like I've had my own apartment for 5 years.
Right.
And also feel like I'm not in my city because of where I am at my college. So it was really good to have that experience. And so playing football there and also going to class, I did a good job of maintaining being an athlete and a student first.
Right. Well, and what I mean, it sounds like you were kind of in the soft sciences, right?
Absolutely.
And I apologize for forgetting that quickly, but what was your degree in?
Well, my degree was in education and sociology, and I ended up getting my master's later on in educational psychology. So that's what I did, and it's always, education is always key, because I know that once you have that, nobody can take that from you, and you can do whatever you want when you have it.
No, that's true. I mean, I think you and I had similar interests in school. I had my undergrad in education, my master's in psychology, and my PhD in clinical psych. So I mean,
Oh, nice.
Look, dude, we went to the same kind of classes, And I'll tell you right now,
you're right.
my PhD is still in the shrink wrap, and it's in there because for two reasons. I'm serious, man. The first reason was, I just didn't feel like listening to other people's problems. Okay.
Right.
Because of the second reason, and the second reason was because there's no treatment model as a psychologist that allows you to grab somebody by the front of their shirt and shake them till their head rattles and say, "Hey, cut that shit out," which is what 60% of the people need to have done, because most people need counseling to break bad habits. You know what I mean? You're supposed to lead them to an understanding of what they're doing wrong, and then they're supposed to apply corrective measures to have a better life experience. Well, that doesn't happen. Okay, it just doesn't happen. You have, because most people got where they got because it was easy. It's like people who have serial failure relationships because they keep going after the wrong person. You know how many times a guy or a girl has said, a man or a woman has said, I keep dating the same kind of person and it just doesn't work. And so you want to say, well, why the hell are you doing that?
Well, I'm telling you to stop sticking your hand. Stop sticking that finger in the wall socket, because you're gonna get the same electric shock. It's gonna hurt more the next time. So stop doing it. So that's what happens. Isn't that
yeah? Go ahead.
So you try to get people to work their ways out of their own mess. So you use your degree by accident, even when you don't want to. You just don't do it at a professional level, but you use it every day, especially with people that do that. So
you're absolutely right, because and believe it or not, I'm an IT guy, by trade, and I do use it for stuff like that, especially in service calls. Somebody has something wrong, and they may be losing their mind, and first you have to talk them down before you can get them fixed, because they've gone all haywire. So yeah, I get that. And what do you do now, like full time? What's your major gig that you do?
Well, when I
make a living?
graduated and from college, I was a teacher, I was a 4th and 5th grade teacher, elementary school teacher. And
Okay.
I did that for a while, and I loved it. And I got the opportunity to move on to become a mayoral aide under our past mayor, Charlie Ryan. So I worked as the mayoral aide. So basically, you're the mayor when he's not around. And that was a great experience to give me all the opportunities to deal with people on all different levels, from CEOs to executive directors to just your residents in the city. And I got to develop great personal relationships with people in my own city that I never thought I would have. And then, funny thing is, I went back to American International College, and now I'm the Director of Diversity and Community Relations. So I'm back on my campus, my alma mater, and also helping the kids to see life and grow and to be better as a student at AIC, since we're such a melting pot. And a lot of our students there are first-generation students.
Right.
So I can relate to them and help them get from point A to point B, and also be prepared when they get to point B to be successful. So that's why I love being there.
Man, that's good, because not a lot of us go back and mentor, or at least not enough of us. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I love doing it, because I can grab the kids from the younger age when I go to the schools to read and talk, and also our kids that are, they've got that opportunity to get to college, but they don't know how to get past college or how to maintain being in college, handling their college bills. They're on their own, living with somebody in a dorm, having a meal plan, handling your own financial aid. So it's good to be that guiding factor for them to be, successful.
Oh, man. I so admire you for doing that. I really do, because
Thank you.
What you're doing is you're mentoring a generation who may not have that help otherwise. So, my hat is off to you.
Yeah, but, it happened for me, so, it's like you got to give back. You always got to give what was given to you.
Well, not a lot of people do that, dude.
Right, I understand.
Not a lot of people do that. A lot of people go, hey, I got mine, you get yours. And
right, that's not how you succeed.
That's not community either. That's not how you build a community.
Absolutely. Right.
But, I think that's been beat into us. That's been beat into our culture. It goes all the way back to, house versus field Negroes,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's a handy thing for the greater American culture to have on us, to keep making us, keep fighting each other so that we all don't get ahead. So, but I don't want to get into that.
Right.
Let's not get, because I'll just get mad and I'll say bad words.
I understand, but that's where it goes. It goes every time.
I know. So you're a writer now. When you were coming up, what kinds of creativity manifested itself in your life as you were growing up?
Oh, man. My writing started way back when I was a kid. I was a closet comic book reader, and I used to love to create stories. And even my mother, she never knew that I liked to write and read comics, and was so far into being like a big geek, because I was an athlete. I played sports my entire life. And but there was also a side of me that loved to be a part of that fantasy world, to create things, and I just kept writing and writing and writing, and it just kept building from there. So when I got older, and the funny thing is, it's like I heard, and I love art. I'm a passionate person about art, that music, somebody that can paint, that can draw, who can write, can do poetry. I have a passion for the arts, and I dive into it, I support it, and I wanted to be an artist. That was my biggest thing. I always wanted to be an artist, and I got that opportunity when I was 17 to kind of do something that was a little bit different.
What was that?
Well, this is how it goes. The saying that the best art is created out of pain, correct?
Yes. Well, actually,
so
art,
when I was
humor, music. That seems that, unfortunately, that seems to be a fairly universal meme that that you can't get away from. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Right,
Go ahead.
right. No, that's all right. But you're right. And so, just imagine now. This is what happened to me when I was 17. This is right before my 18th birthday. Is January of 1996.
Okay.
And my best friend from since I was 6 months old, Marcus McDowell, gave me a call in the middle of the night in January. I'll never forget it. He calls me about 2:00 in the morning. He's like, Slim, that's what he called me. My name is Keshawn, but he called me Slim. He's like, Slim, I got a problem. I'm like, what? It's 2:00 in the morning. He's like, I can't pee. I'm like, what? You calling me because you can't pee? I said, man, who'd you sleep with? And he's like, no, I didn't sleep with anybody, but I can't pee. I said, all right, well, go wake mom up because, we call our parents mom. You know how that is because their parents raised us. Everybody's mom is mom to us. And so I said, well, wake mom up, have her take you to the hospital, get checked out. So he calls me in the morning, and he's like, I went to the hospital, and they said I have a bladder infection. I'm like, okay, all right, so at least I know what it is. And so what happened? Well, they had to put a tube down. I'm like, hey, I don't want to know. That's disgusting. It hurts. I don't, you're making me shrink. I don't want to deal with that. And so it was like, so they just got to do that, clean it out, and now I should be all set. So, okay, so a month goes by, and he gives me a call, says, you got to come to my house. And I'm like, okay, why? He's like, I can't tell you the phone. You got to come. So, all right, so I get to his house, and we're sitting down. His mom is sitting down. His brother is sitting down. They got their heads down. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is everybody looking so sad? And he was like, well, I just found out I have cancer. And I was like, what? You have cancer?
Man.
He's like, yeah, it's I have cancer. It's really, really aggressive, but I don't know what's happening. I got to go to the hospital. And so, mind you, I've dealt with death a lot, and that shaped who I am today. My father passed away when I was 7, and when I was 32, I finally told my mother that I saw my father die. She didn't know.
Right.
I saw him saw him pass away in the house. And when I was 14, my grandfather passed. And so now I'm 17 years old, about to turn 18, and my best friend, who's 17, is about, I'm saying he has cancer. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Those two, my father and my grandfather, they were older, and they died. I said, you're young, you're going to fight it, you're going to win, and we'll be okay. So goes to the hospital. I spent a lot of time in the hospital. Every single day I could, I was in the hospital. And you know how you have visiting hours in the hospital? The nurses didn't give me visiting hours. I can come in at any time because they said the way that he acts when you're here, he's a different person. He's perky, he's happy. I've never seen two people that aren't related have that relationship. I said, that's my brother. You got to understand. I'm like, we're like twins. We got whippings together growing up. I mean, everything that he did, I did, we did together. And so that's my brother. It's like my twin. Everybody knew that's my twin. And so while we're in the hospital, he, was going through his chemo, and he was like, I want to do something to get my mind off of dealing with these tumors that are growing. I want to create a comic book. I know you like to write. I love to draw. So, okay, let's do a comic book. So what are we going to do? So we got to create our own superhero. So we started thinking about a concept, and we created a superhero that was young enough that kids can grow up with and have fun. And so we named him MENZUO. We just named him MENZUO. Okay. That was his name. And they was like, why MENZUO? It's just a name because it's a conversation. People can't pronounce the name right. So they're going to ask, oh, is that right? Yes. So now you can talk about with the superheroes. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So he would draw the characters. I would write the bios. And while he was in the hospital, he was going through treatments. I ended up graduating high school. Then I ended up going to prep school at a Wilbraham Munson Academy. And so when I got to Wilbraham, I'm playing football there to try to get my scholarship for college. Doing really well. Ended up becoming an all-prep player of the year that year in football. And I there's an award banquet in Boston. So I'm going to Boston to get my award at this dinner, and I'm having a ball in December. And it's about a week and a half before Christmas. So I get back home, and my mom knows me. I'm coming in. I'm coming to change. I'm going to run to the hospital. I'm going to have some fun. Tell Marcus, give him the award so he can see it. I know he's going to be happy. As soon as I get in the house, my mother grabs the keys, and I'm rushing. I'm so happy. I got to change. I know he's tired. He's probably going to go to sleep. And she's like, Keshawn, you can't go. And I'm like, Mom, stop. You're messing me up. I know he only probably is going to go to sleep in the next hour. I'm only going to get there to say hi, and show him what I got. He's like, you can't go. It's like, why are you in Boston? He passed away. And when she said that, it didn't register. I'm like, stop playing. I got to go change. Please leave me alone. And she's like, no, you need to stop. Marcus passed away while you were in Boston. And I was what? No. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He didn't. I just talked to him just a little while ago. And so once I stopped and she's holding me, my brother walks in with his brother. And they're both older than us. And my brother's holding up Alonzo. And that's when it hit. And the second I saw him crying, he couldn't stand up, it felt like somebody just took out half of my heart. And I
just
could
took your
not
strength
believe.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, everything about life it didn't matter. Everything didn't matter. I didn't care about anything because how can I? And my family is very religious. My brother is a pastor. My mother we're in church. Grew up in church all my life. And my brother comes up to me and he's like, Marcus is in a better place. He's with God. And the first thing out of my mouth was F God. I was like, how can God take somebody that never smoked, never drank, he wasn't in a gang, he wasn't bad, he didn't do anything wrong. I said, how can he take him away from me? And at that point, I didn't realize how selfish I was. So I didn't want to go back to school. I left Wilbraham Mustang Academy. I didn't want to be with anybody. I didn't want to have any friends because now my mindset was, if you're my friend, you're going to die. That was just where I was. I was in a very, very bad place. And so a month and a half passes, and I'm not at Wilbraham Mustang Academy, and Marcus's dad calls me. And he's like, son, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, I don't want to have this conversation. I don't care. He's like, no, you need to come to my house and talk. So, okay, so I get to his house. And Dad says, I got to talk to you because there's something I got to tell you. And I'm like, what? He said, well, I know you lost your brother, and I know you're sad. What are you going to do with your life? I said, Dad, I don't know. He's like, well, you're not going back to school? I said, I don't know. I don't want to go. I don't want to be around people right now. He's like, so I said, all right, well, make your decision after we have this talk. And I'm like, okay. Now I really don't want to hear the man talk, but that's Dad. You don't disrespect Dad. And
right.
So he said, I got one thing to tell you. Yeah, and he's like, I said, one thing to tell you. He said, in my 53 years as a man, my son taught me how to be a better man at 18 years old. And I'm like, what? How can he do that? Because we look up to you. You're like a god to us. Nobody can teach you how to be a man. We're learning from you.
Right, right.
So now he has my attention. He has my attention, and he says, well, this is what happened. He said, the last time you saw Marcus, what did he say to you? I was like, well, he turned and he said, I love you. And I was like, well, yeah, shut the hell up. I love you too. And I walked out because you're not going to be soft with your boy. So I don't care if you're on your bed and dealing with cancer. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not being soft. Yeah, I love you too. Shut up. Bye. And so I leave, and then his dad comes and he has a conversation with him. He said, this is what he said. He said, listen to me clearly. He said, I know I'm not going to last much longer. And everybody else is going to be fine, but you got to watch Keshawn. He's not going to handle this well. And I froze. And at that moment, I said, my best friend was on his deathbed worrying about me. I said, that is a true definition of a true friend. And my brother.
That's not a friend. That's like a brother.
Yeah, that's my brother. He knew exactly what was going to happen. Right.
So let
me
ask
exactly
you this.
what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's, first of all, that's a heartbreaker. It's for damn sure a shock when you didn't know and nobody told you. You've got all of that going through your head, and it hurts you to your soul, to have to go through something like that. Now, then when we look at the book that you've written, is this part tribute to your brother from another mother?
Now, this is what people are going to see when they read the book and when they get it, is that MENZUO, his earth name is Jamal Hall. MENZUO is me. The superhero is me. In the book, he has a protector named Solar who lives in his crystal that gives him his superpower. That's my best friend Marcus. That's Marcus. That's my best friend Marcus. In this first book, there's 8 books in this series, and this is the first one that I've released with Cosby Media Productions. In this book, the first book, they battle Morbid. Now, I know you know what Morbid means. Morbid means death.
Absolutely.
Morbid represents the cancer. So in the book, MENZUO, Keshawn, and Solar, Marcus, defeat the cancer. That was my way of keeping my best friend, my brother, together. And in the book, at the end of the book, MENZUO finds out that, Solar is his brother. So that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the Solar Warrior series. But it tells the story of how, a kid has to deal with a life-changing event, has to deal with bullying, has to deal with life, and things that are happening to him so fast, and he has to adjust to it without knowing what the future is going to bring. And it teaches you how to be confident in yourself. And so that's what I get. And that is a huge tribute to the book. When people read the book, they can see that's me and Marcus staying together forever.
I can't think of a better way, just based on your life, of you to honor your brother and to keep his memory alive. I think, and I don't want to belittle it. I'm not at all. I mean, I laud the fact that you feel that, you felt that strongly, enough to do that.
Absolutely.
And so you've got, it's a tough thing to talk about, and I don't want to ask a whole lot of, questions.
Oh, you can
about,
ask. You can ask.
But you know what I mean. You don't,
Absolutely.
From my perspective, first of all, it's so visceral for you. It's so personal. Right. And I'm not saying that it's private personal, but I mean, this was your, this was like your soulmate, not like a man-woman soulmate, but this was a guy who, in every way possible, was your brother. And
was my brother. He knew everything about me. Everything.
Yeah. And so your family obviously knew it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
When you came running in the house, they all knew.
Yep.
Well, okay, so you said you've got 8 books in the series.
Yes, I do.
And so that implies that you have a story arc for the entire series. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's an amazing thing that, after I wrote this book, I felt so much better. And then, I thought I was done. But I just kept having a reoccurring dream about MENZUO doing great things. And so I understand, like, for me, I knew moving forward in life I can't do anything alone. And so I had the opportunity to bring in the Solar Warriors. And so there's a team of warriors that joined in to help him become the Universal Protector, but not doing it all alone. So he has a team of people that will carry him and when he needs to be carried, and also he can always depend on. And so it's just the great series that I came up with, and people have read some of the manuscripts. They've read the first book because I republished it with Cosmic Media Productions. And when I met with Leon and Braxton Cosby, they're out of Atlanta, they fell in love with the book. And just in March, they just announced that MENZUO is being considered for film and TV and animation for next year. So this is the biggest dream of starting this in 1996, getting it published the first time in 2004, to republish it in 2010, and now to republish it with Cosmic Media Productions with a whole new storyline and with their whole superhero theme through their productions company and their publishing company. We are going to be doing some great things, and I have never been so excited about seeing MENZUO become bigger than me and being a household name and having kids become my superhero and understanding why it's so important to me.
Sure. And when did you publish this?
This one is actually the ebook with Cosmic Media Productions came out in March 24th of this year, and the paperback is I have my advanced copies for my event tomorrow, and I ordered a bunch because I knew I was going to sell out because I have that much confidence in the team of people that's with me right now. My brother, my friend Craig Washington, my other brother, my friend Rashad Leonard, who is here with me, are going to be at the booth with me and having a ball pushing these books and doing some great things. And also, I got to give a great, congratulations and shout out to Rashad Leonard, who wrote the theme song to the first book, and it's amazing. I know Jarvis has it, and if I can email it to you, I know you're gonna fall in love with it because it gives everybody goosebumps when they hear the song.
This is pretty cool because I'm on the Amazon page right now, and I'm looking at I can have it sent to my Kindle,
Absolutely.
So yeah, I might as well bust out a little bit of money. I never carry more money than I could afford to lose, which is why my pockets are always empty, my brother.
Right. That's it. I understand.
But no, I mean, as a writer, some writers don't want to read other people's stuff because they go, I don't want to read someone else's stuff because it might influence my writing. I go, then you don't write you're not a very good writer, because you can't,
I got you. You're right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I read as much as I can. I've probably read easily well over 10,000 books in my lifetime, probably more than that.
Right,
so,
right.
And especially when you look at, Afrofuturists, you look at people writing black-oriented books, African-themed books and things like that. I don't want to overdo it because I'm a classic science fiction writer. But, man, I mean, I looked at the premise here, and then hearing the personal drive, the personal story behind the creation of the universe, it just sounds like a great thing that I think people should check out. And for those who are listening, it's MENZUO, MENZUO, The Calling of the Sun Prince, and it is on Amazon.
Yes.
It's a Kindle book. It's available as a Kindle for $3.99.
Yep.
And if you got a Kindle or you got Kindle software on your computer, this sounds like something you should take a good look at.
Oh, absolutely. And if you have a Nook, you can go to Barnes & Noble and get it off it for your Nook as well. It's the same price. We're making this available for everybody. We have our theme is the Year of the Hero, and we're also doing Rediscover. We're doing Rediscover Reading. We're going across the country, speaking to kids, getting them more excited about reading books and understanding that if you read MENZUO, you're going to be able to read Harry Potter. You're going to pick up other books. You're going to read, Protostar from Braxton Cosby and all the other books. I mean, I'm reading so many books right now. I'm reading 3 books at the same time right now because
any of them mine?
I'm about to find out yours and get yours as well. So that's it.
I'm just kidding, man. Seriously, I'm kidding you. But here's the thing. The other part, I mean, you talk about the mentoring that you do and you talk about, teaching, you talk about, helping people make an accommodation to life so that they have more of a chance of success. All those things are big. But then when you add in the dimension of being a writer, I think it's incumbent upon us to build our audience because
absolutely
not a lot of people see that. A lot of people go, well, how come black folks ain't buying my books? Because you haven't excited them, and not excited them like, oh, quick, run out and get the book, but excited them about the learning and being exposed to new ideas. Because, when you write sci-fi, fantasy, or horror, these are normally genres that bring in the most creative new ideas because that's where they live.
Absolutely.
Right. You could read one romance novel, and essentially you've read them all.
Right.
You can read different Tom Clancy books or different Harry Potter books, but Harry Potter falls into that kind of sci-fi fantasy kind of thing. But when you're outside the sci-fi fantasy or horror genre, the pickings are mostly rehashes of plots that have been done ad nauseum, and so Sci-fi is kind of like the place where, sci-fi, fantasy, what have you, is where you're going to see some of the new ideas. And the fact that you can see black-themed stories now in a way that we have not seen them ever before in history is
it's a blessing, and I love it. I love it.
Right.
Because now we're getting the exposure, and we're not the stereotypical superheroes that are out there, or we're the sidekick or somebody that's just a flash in or dies or whatever else. So we get the lead role, and you're having a ball with it.
Right, and when you think about it, the other cool thing about where we are now is we get to identify ourselves. We get to sell ourselves. We get to present ourselves in a way that hasn't been done before because all of those voices were white before. But the reason why Afrofuturism is taking off and our kind of content is taking off is because the barrier to publication for books, media, cartoons, comic books, everything is lower because of digital delivery of content. It doesn't take, like you said, you've got people who want to do your work in another medium. And so they would not have seen it had it not been easy enough for you to publish your book as an e-book as easily as you did, correct?
Right.
So this is all good. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and the team, I mean, Cosmic Media Productions team is amazing. because, the first time I did it, I went through the struggles of doing it myself, or the first time using Publish America, didn't like how it came out, and learning how to self-publish a book. And now with the team of Cosby Media Productions, it gave me everything that I ever dreamed of, with an editor and Tamar Hilla, who's out of California, and just the lead up, the ideas, everything that Braxton and Leon have done. I mean, it's like you're not doing it yourself, so you're empowered, and they believe in your stories just as much as you. And you know how that is as a writer, or anything that you do. Nobody's going to believe in your work more than you, so you're going to push it hard. But when you have a team of people that believe in it just as you, it's a great feeling.
Oh, that encouragement, that's like giving you a 10,000-watt light bulb above your head powered by somebody else. Because there's a validity of your story, there's a validity of your concept, and there's a validity to your universe that other people have expressed a liking for, or even they validate your efforts, your creativity.
Right. And that's the best thing about it. And I'm always very humble about it. My daughter loves when people come up to me, "Oh, you're the author. This is great. How did you write the book?" And something happened to me a few weeks ago that was probably the most mind-blowing, that, I kind of did my own little dance in the kitchen when I had a kid from Atlanta call me and begged me to play the role when it goes to the movie, because I want to audition to be MENZUO. And I'm like, really? I said, this is a joke. You got to be kidding me. He's like, no, I'm serious. The book was amazing. I want to be that superhero. And I mean, like, that is my goal, because now I know I have grabbed a kid. They're reading the book. They want more. That's what I wrote it for. And it just makes me feel good that people are really responding to it better than I thought. And so I know, like I said, this is powered through, pain, but Marcus is in the book and having a ball, laughing and saying, "I told you so."
Dude, he's living on,
Absolutely.
He is living on, and what better tribute? You get to carry around your best friend as long as your creative juices are alive. And not only that, but because you codified him in your writing, he's going to live forever.
Absolutely. And that's the best thing.
He's going to live forever.
And it's so funny because, you go through that pain and you never think it's going to subside. It never goes away. I miss him dearly. But
of course,
to see the fact that, I can bring him back to life, and, in the next book when he does get his body back, he's whole again. And being, science fiction and fantasy, you can do so many great things. And I just did it. And the best part about it is having his mother and his father so proud and saying, "I cannot believe this is real, that I'm seeing my son in this book." And you keep the families together. And it's something that that's how we get through and moving forward and making every day better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I mean, that's got to be great. And then, excuse me, let's talk a little bit about the show you're getting ready to attend. When does that start? Is that tomorrow?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's tomorrow in Philadelphia at the Convention Center, and it's the East Coast Black of Ages Comic-Con. And I am very, very happy to be there, because there's one little surprise that I'm doing. I'm going to be revealing the MENZUO costume, and I'm wearing it. So
it's
going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm actually, we're leading up. This is the last part that we're doing. We're finishing up the documentary called The Creation of a Superhero. And it's going to be released in June on YouTube, my YouTube channel, so people can see it. So I want people to follow the journey of how I got to where I am, everything that's happening leading up to the Ekbok, and what we're moving forward to. So it's a lot of fun, and so much support is coming. And I know once people get to see the documentary, they'll get to see who I am personally, how I got here, and my driving determination to be, up there and making sure that, education is key and people are reading the books and also fall in love with a new superhero.
I can't think of, well, first of all, you've got to post some pictures. I mean, if you're gonna go to the extent of premiering the costume, you definitely have to show folks the pictures. And for those of you who are looking for his YouTube channel, all you have to do is do a search in YouTube for MENZUO, MENZUO, and he like pops right up, and you can see the Calling of the Prince trailer, the Sun Prince trailer.
Yeah, the trailer is nice. I had a ball with that, just having that out there. The artwork, you'll see pictures will be posted on my Facebook, my website tomorrow. You'll see that on YouTube, we're going to be posting videos. So you'll be able to see everything that's happening with us at the Comic-Con. And we're just going to have fun because this is what it's about. You know, it's not that pressure of, you know, I got to make sure that people know who I am. I really don't care because you're going to know anyway. Right. This thing is taking off and it has legs of its own. And so it's just a lot of fun. And I just want people to understand that, you know, all my heart and soul went into this, and this is so much fun to have MENZUO become reality, and people can have a lot of fun and enjoy reading a good story.
Okay, so all right, so you've got the first one out. Let's talk about your process for writing that story. When you started, did you have kind of like the whole plot, you know, and all of it kind of in the back of your mind? Did you know where you were going at the time?
And it's so I work with my illustrator. I have a new illustrator. Well, my illustrator since Marcus, Carl Harrison. We linked up in 2005. And our first meeting was something that was so special. He sat down and said, describe MENZUO to me. So I did it for about a minute and a half. After I finished, he turned a paper over and said, is this your character? In a minute and a half, he sketched out what my character looked like from what I said. I said, how in God's name did you do that? He was like, well, how did you write that? I said, well, for me, everything moves in my head like a movie. And it's like I'm in it, so I can hear it, I can see it, I can smell it, I can feel everything that's going on. So it's a moving picture when I'm writing. So my process is different. I call myself a method writer. I become a part of my book. And so everything that happens from start to finish, I just write. And I tell people just write. Get into the mode and write. And so for me, once I start putting pen to pad or my pencil to that paper, it just flows out. It flows out, and I can see the story, where it's heading from, where it's going. And I know, just like anyone else, once I get to a middle part, I like this part. I got to change what's in the beginning. So what I do, I finish first, and I go through it. I literally write my book at least 5 times before I turn it over to my editor, because I go through that process.
So what's the word count on this one? Just to give us a little
I believe
idea
the
of
word
how long
count.
it is.
It's the word count right now, I believe, is about 114,000 words on here. So it's not super long, but it's great.
Dude, you've got 232 pages. You're talking to a guy who cannot write a book less than 500 pages so far.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So my hat's off to you. I'm too wordy. No, I am, man. I'm just saying. A man's got to know his limitations. But and I know that looks daunting to people. When they go, how many pages? How many pages? So no, but I mean, 230 pages is a substantial story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean that it was longer. It was a little bit longer, but that's a credit to my editor Tamar Hilla, who really sat down and she went through line for line, word for word, and you don't have to explain this that much. You're going too much into detail. You're going off into a tangent. You have to stay on the storyline. She did a great job, and she told me that it was a pleasure to work with me because I was so receptive to all of her criticism, and I said it was constructive. You're giving me the best product, and so if I can make it better by making sure that people will stay focused and know where the story's going, I'm going to do what you say because I trust you. And she did an amazing job. So it got cut down to that. So the meat is still there, and everything that I wanted is perfectly put in to this book, and we're already in the editing, go into the editing process after this month with book 2, MENZUO, The Solar Warriors, Legend of the Blue Diamond.
Okay. Now, and just some inside baseball between you and me. My first book started out at 700 pages, and my editor cut out a third of it.
Right,
and
right.
As I look at it now, I could probably take maybe 100 more pages out of it because not everybody is all geeked out on science like I am. So,
right.
I mean, that's the other challenge that I have is letting go. I was forced to let go because I was told on Monday that if I didn't upload my manuscript by Thursday, it wasn't going to be available. The book wasn't going to be available for Christmas. So
right.
My editor and I were sitting in my living room for 3 days trying to get this thing done. Thank God at the time she was unemployed, you know.
Right.
Because I even then, you know, about 20, 30 typos slipped through. Not that that's a big deal, but I mean, you definitely want to take the time to make it right. And you know, that's always a tough thing because I'll be honest with you, I could probably edit any of my books forever. You know, let me just tweak this. Let me just change that. But sometimes
we're the worst critics on ourselves. We'll go through that book 10 times and I don't like this part. Or I want to put this in. I want to take that. So that's what I when I talk to people about writing, I said write your book out first. Go in and stick to your storyline. Make sure it stays, but don't be so critical of yourself because remember you can also reprint that again later and make the changes that you want. So
that is so cool about I mean, and people don't realize that's a luxury. You know, print on demand is a huge benefit for the industry. And first of all, it helps with cost containment because you don't overprint books.
Right.
And you know, if you do happen to get picked up by one of the big 5 printing houses, you know, they're only going to, as a matter of fact, their editors can look at your manuscript and they'll tell you exactly how many books you're going to sell. That's how good they are. That's how many they'll print. But then all of a sudden, if they have to gear up and print some more, all they have to do is just send the digital file to that big-ass machine in the basement, and they can run off as many books as they want. Yeah, exactly. Is this, I see this, it's in 2 formats and editions. Do you have the print edition is coming later?
Yep, the print edition will be out June 30th. So right now, I have the best part is that I have the ones on hand that it will be sold at the ECBOC and also some of the book signings I'll be doing once I get back to Springfield and Massachusetts and throughout New England. Until those are gone, leading up to the release where, you know, I'm going to have people out there, you know, getting the books and just having a ball with it as well. So right now, people can get the autographed copies from me if they come out to Philadelphia. If you're in the area and you want to see a lot of different authors, not just me, but some great, you know, comic books and some other authors that are out there, and get a feel of what this art form is just to be right at the Convention Center in Philadelphia at 701 Art Street. You'll have a ball. You will have a ball.
The other thing that you should do is get in the habit when you're going to do an appearance or something, come in and put it on the events calendar at the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. Because when you do that, when people are looking for something to do on a weekend, you know, or they're going to be in a town that they're not used to, they can come in, take a look, and see if there's something that may be going on. And, you know, that's kind of a cool way to meet some of your, you know, fellow Black Science Fiction Society members.
Right.
So
and I think I posted it on my page, or I might have put it on. I know I put it on there because I put it on there in the beginning of April. But I'm not sure if I put it on the right one. I'm still trying to get used to it because I had a glitch in my computer, and Jarvis helped me get back in because it was blocking me out with my password.
Right.
But I got in, and it should be up there on my page. But I got to make sure I put it on the main site so people can see it.
Yeah, just put it in where it says calendar. Drop it in there because then Jarvis just features it and then blasts it out. That blasts it out to everybody. And there's almost 5,000 people.
Yeah. Right.
I come see you, but I got this ankle bracelet from the sheriff, and you know I got to be in with the street lights come on, and it's a terribly sordid story that I don't really want to have to go into.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah, you mentioned that your daughter gets a kick out of people recognizing you. How old is she?
She's 10 years old, and she is the love of my life. And it's funny because, you know, when she was born, I was just about to finish writing book 2. And in 2005, when I was finishing that book, and I had a character in the book that I wanted to create who calls MENZUO to help on a different planet. And as soon as I found out I was having a daughter, I named the character Princess Amiyata. So that is my daughter. So no, now she's older. She knows that's her. That
right.
You know, so she's in the book. So she's on cloud 9 that she's a superhero too. So
she's got ownership now.
Oh yeah, she does, and she's happy about it. And you know, back in my hometown, we both did a commercial for education, 413 Reads, and we did that together. And so people see us on TV, on the news. You know, they showed a clip on reading together. Me and my daughter were sitting together, and so she's like, "It's weird that people think you're a superstar. You're just my daddy." And I'm like, "I am just your daddy, and I'll always be your daddy." So that's it. So
yeah.
But she just gets a crack out of it.
Yeah, if you ever need to be taken down just a small peg, just come home.
Oh yeah,
you know,
really quick.
Come home
quick.
full of yourself. Yeah, come home full of yourself, and see exactly what happens. Well, I mean, this is kind of cool. You know, the whole story about, you know, where your creativity came from. You know, you got a best friend that you're hanging with for the, you know, all of his life, and then to be able to create a universe where he lives on, that's got to feel very good for you. And you mentioned that your family and his family are grooving on it. You know, they're into it.
Oh yeah, they love it. Our families are very close. And like I said, his parents are my parents are his parents. Their families are still very close. And so when I put the book out, and it was so funny because my mother had no idea I wrote a book. And when I first wrote it, I told her, "Hey, Mom, I published a book." She's like, "Shut up, go away. You didn't write a book." I was like, "Mom, I just wrote a book. What are you talking? Stop playing around. Go, get away from me." And I'm like, "Okay." So I had to wait till I got the book in hand. I said, "Elizabeth Dodd, here is my freaking book. I wrote a book." And she's like, "Oh, you wrote a book?" I was like, "Jesus, I gotta drop a brick on your head to let you know I wrote a book." And so she read it. And she read the book, and she was like, "Oh, my gosh." And I didn't tell her what it was. She was like, "That's you and Marcus, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yep." And I gave it to Velma, and I gave it to Doug, Marcus's parents, and they said the same thing. And they were just like, "I cannot believe this is that good." And I'm like, "Hey, you're saying that because you love me. You know, I'm your son." No, this is really good. And so, you know, I tested it out. I tested it out when I was in college to some of my professors. They wanted to help me get it published. And I used it as a tool when I was a teacher. I had 4th and 5th grade kids that were on 2nd and 3rd grade reading levels. So they're basically the kids that everybody kind of gave up on. And I took them, and every lunch period I'd read this manuscript to them before it was published, didn't tell them what the story was until I finished. By that time, they were, you know, reading other books. I got calls from parents, "What are you doing to my kid?" I said, "I know I kind of yelled at them bad. I might have swore. I'm sorry." They're like, "No, my kid is coming home and they're reading other books. What are you doing? They never read a book in their life." I said, "Well, come in and see." So they'll come in, parents will come in, and it just got to the point where by the end of the year, I almost had them on grade level for reading. And that was a tool that I saw that MENZUO was doing. I'm getting you to read my book. You're getting stuck on words. You're looking it up. You're finding out that reading is really not that hard. You're interested in it. So now I'm going to pick up another book. And it happens that quick. And I tell people the mind, you know, your brain can work and trigger in ways that people don't even know if you have an interest in it. And that's what happened.
And you know, the best part of this is people who listen to this ought to pay attention. You know, it doesn't take a lot to excite a child's mind because their minds are thirsty for so much,
absolutely.
For so much stimulation. I started my kids, with my daughter. You know, the big thing was that in the morning on, you know, when we didn't have to go anywhere or do anything like that, we would sit there and we would read 3 books. And she got in the habit of doing that. And, you know, now she's, you know, a teenager about to be 18 and reads a ton of books just on her own.
Right.
So that sort of thing, that, you know, that what that is that's a gift. You know, they make the cliche about a gift that keeps on giving, but for damn sure, that's a great gift that not only keeps on giving, but it serves the imagination and the intellect of an individual, as they grow. Get them in the habit of reading. It's something that they're going to do forever. So that's pretty cool. She's 10 years old. Your daughter's 10 years old. You taught it to, you used it to teach other kids, and it's your book.
And I also read it to her when she was a baby, and as she grew up, she wanted to read the book, and she would read with me. And her reading level it far exceeds a fourth grade reading level right now. And she's an A student. She's just a great kid that takes advantage of everything that's in front of her. And I'm happy that I can provide it to her, especially with reading, and she can see how important it is for me, how much I love to write books. And you'll start to see her doing certain things like, I want to create my own superhero. It's Super Sydney and Super Barkley, and it's so cute at that age when they're younger, because now they're interested in exactly what I do, and there's nothing better than being stuck in education and reading books, because you're going to be better than your dad, and that's what all your parents want. You want to be better than your mother and your father.
Right. Okay, so you're gonna be doing some cosplay this weekend. You're gonna be showing out. You're gonna be having a good time, and like I said, we want pictures.
Oh, you're gonna see pictures, and you're also gonna be able to hear the theme song that Rashad Leonard made for MENZUO. And actually, in the next few weeks, Cosmic Media Productions is going to be putting the MENZUO song on iTunes for people to download. So you'll be able to get a hand on every part of what we're doing here. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
And how much longer before we see it produced as what do you say, kind of like a cartoon? Is it going to be a motion comic or a cartoon?
Well, probably animation, motion animation. So we'll see. And we're looking at production for next year, and so that's going to be an amazing journey. And not sure how long that's going to take, but I know the process. You're going to be able to follow everything that we're doing, and I'll give people sneak peeks, coming up to what's being released. And I know Leon and Braxton Cosby will be doing the same, because it's not only MENZUO that's coming. We have a bunch of other superheroes that we're going to be migrating together in a place that's called Hero City, which is basically Chicago, Illinois, and in our world, but it's called Hero City in 2030. So we're going to be moving forward with some great things.
Man, that's great. So now, don't tear up my city.
I'm not. Well, you know what? In science fiction, everything you can tear up, you can rebuild in a snap of a finger.
Yeah, but let me give you an example. Like in Superman, Transformers, all of these movies, Avengers, they're entertaining me, but I call them destruction porn, because basically what they're doing is they are messing up a city in a way that would take you a decade to fix up. Not to mention all the people who get killed and stuff like that. I just don't, after the Transformers tore up Chicago, give us some time to build back up, man, before.
Oh, man, I know. I understand fully what you're saying. And so, that's the funniest thing when I was reading one of the books. It's actually my third book, is The Solar Warriors Judgment Set Upon Earth, when MENZUO has to come back to Earth. And I destroyed Springfield. I'm talking about, my kids were like, you just ruined every school, City Hall, the Basketball Hall of Fame, Dr. Seuss's memorial, everything that you could ever think of, I just blew up. But I said, guess what? This is science fiction, guys. In the snap of a finger, the next page, it might be back. They're like, oh, that is so cool. I said, that is so cool. I said, yeah, so don't get excited that you don't have to go to school in 2030. So, so that's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right, I'll give you that one. As long as you can fix stuff up, because I'll tell you, I hate when traffic gets bad. It's just one of my things. Hang on a second. You're listening to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website, and we're talking to Keshawn Dodds, who is the author of MENZUO, The Calling of the Sun Prince, a book, an ebook right now available on Amazon, and soon to be. Well, actually, you said you got hard copies that you're going to be tossing around tomorrow, right?
Yep, tomorrow. Yep, on hand. Get your hands on the hard copy tomorrow.
Right. So that's pretty cool. And then when is the next installment on its way out?
We're looking at, hopefully, our release date for the ebook will be around Christmas for the second book, Legend of the Blue Diamond. And that story, I'm telling you, it's like you fall in love with every story that you have, and just the storyline of what happens in the second book, it gives me goosebumps because I have a lot of fun with the characters that I create or who come into the story, and just the storyline. And I tell people, when you fall in love with a storyline, you're gonna get stuck on wanting to know what happens next. How did that happen? Why did it happen? And you kind of want to skip pages. And so I've gotten that from having that book out, just test piloting it with other kids and some adults as well. And my mother, she gets mad at me because she wants to read all 8 books now. And I'm like, you don't even like science fiction, but right. She loves the stories.
That's great. I will warn you about something that I found out. I actually had one of my main characters die in my second book. and there are people who have never let me forget about it. I mean, they were mad that that's what I did. So yeah.
Well, yeah. So I know that's the point, and I tell people, because everybody wants to know when you're writing science fiction, who's gonna die. I said, well, I can't tell you that because then, you're really gonna be mad at me if I do kill somebody, but I said, right now, you're safe. Just live in book 1.
Yeah, enjoy and go for the ride. Go for the ride.
And fall in love with the characters. Fall in love hard with the characters because if somebody dies, I got to do it for a good reason. It's not going to be, something that's just going to be, like, heartbreaking. But I kind of might make it heartbreaking, but I know how, like you say, when people react to you, they get upset. You got to write them back in somehow or write her back in. I'm like, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So, okay, you've got 8 volumes in this series, and let's say you stretch it out for about the next 5 or 6 years, which you probably will, right?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Do you have other creative universes that you have kind of put in the back of your mind that you may gravitate to later on? Do you have a plan past this, or are you still kind of tied up in this creative universe and not ready to move on yet?
Oh, no. I mean, I have this, but I actually I write in young adult fiction as well. It's not science fiction, but I do have other books that I write because it's a passion of things that I see and just stories that I've actually had the opportunity to turn to life. While I'm writing the MENZUO series and going on those tours and doing those books, people can also find another book that I have is called Who's on My Side, the story of Kaylin Brown. That's actually on ebook and paperback right now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And that story I wrote basically didn't really realize how much of resemblance of the father-son relationship was to my life and my older brothers. But and the way I debuted it in 2012 was as a stage play. And we did 4 shows and had 4 packed houses and 4 standing ovations because of how the story was played out. It was pure art, but just to be off of the science fiction side of things, just to digress for a few seconds, the Who's on My Side is basically about a son and a father, son who is Kaylin Brown. His father, Michael Brown, is an abusive alcoholic father who hates his own life and how it turns out and takes all his anger and pain out on his son. And his son, all he wants is to have the love of a father, and he finds it in a gun runner named Big Boss who takes him in and makes him try to find a way in the life of selling guns, but he's not selling guns, he's picking up money for him. And he's very successful at it, but his dad on that side is, torn with this guy coming into his son's life and pulling him away. And so it becomes this tug of war this summer of his 18th birthday. So that's what I do on the other side of things. So that's what I do with my young adult fiction. And I love my superheroes, but I'm very versatile on my writing skills.
That's pretty cool. And talk a little bit about, I mean, what kind of outreach do you do? I mean, we know you taught,
Yeah.
and that you're back in the educational milieu. But what kind of outreach are you doing now? I mean, it seems perfect, both the young adult series and the science fiction.
Oh, I do a lot of motivational speaking. I go into schools. I go into the community centers. We do have some programs that I do work with, and I teach about, just basically, finding out who you are, loving who you are as a person, a young person, and growing up to be a successful adult. I have workshops that I do, and so I'm very, very, I could say, out there in helping people to become better. And my goal, and I tell people whenever I speak to you, I want you to be better than me, because the people that raised me and all the people that helped me to be where I am wanted me to be better than them. And so that they instilled those models into me so that I can do the same thing. And to have the platform to do the motivational speaking, to travel, to speak to kids, to mentor kids, and, just to help adults as well to find their way, because you're never too old to learn or be better than what you were yesterday. So I tell people that. So I try to be that motivational factor of, becoming better, because, from everything that I've done, I still feel like I haven't done anything, because I haven't, achieved where I want to be. And I think that fulfillment, it really doesn't ever come, because you always want more. And I want to see people successful and seeing people happy. So it's always work to do.
Well, I mean, I think that most creatives, I think that even most adults, if they're going to be honest, might consider themselves a work in progress for their whole lives, or at least you hope
Absolutely.
they do,
Right,
And to even just show kids that, yeah, you know what, even as an adult, I'm learning new things. I'm trying new things. I'm not afraid to put it out there that, here's something I didn't know about that I'm interested in. Let me try to find that out. I think the worst teachers and the worst examples out there are people who somehow end up stifling, what's natural in a child. So that's pretty cool that you're still out there doing that. If you were going to put like an age range on your, on the calling book, what do you think it would be? Would you consider this young adult?
Yeah, we're considered young adult, but the way I've written it, because I was a 4th and 5th grade teacher, I wanted people to be on that grade level. I've made it, available for people at a 4th grade reading level and up. So it is tough if you're at a 4th, but my daughter read this book and she loves it. She's in 4th grade, but her reading level is high. So for me, I want kids to, it may look daunting, it may look difficult for you to read, but once you're in it and you're stuck. And so the sentences in the beginning are kind of short. Then as I stick you in the book, sentences get longer, words get harder, and then you're already in it. And so you're following the storyline. And if you don't understand a word, I tell people, look it up. And so as a teacher, I created a discussion guide for teachers and parents to go through that gives a synopsis of each chapter. I pull out some of the words that are hard. I make it available to be used in different types of classes in language arts, science, math, so people can see how to use this book in the school system as well.
That's brilliant. I mean, because what you're doing is, you're providing a path for people to, you're making the book accessible to a crowd that really, I mean, that's right in your wheelhouse, to be able to give it to young adults and have them get into it. And like we said earlier, being able to build your audience, to grow your own audience by the transitions that you have in your book, going from, easier to harder, but sucking them into a good story. That I think that's one of the things that a lot of creatives forget, is that, there are times with your work where you're going to have to create, you're going to have to grow your audience.
Right.
So this is brilliant. So, what kind of feedback have you gotten from people who were not of your family or your best friend's family?
The funny thing is, it's very genuine. I had a few people that come up to me, and they're just kind of amazed on how the story comes about and how did I write something that was easy to follow but makes you feel like you're watching a movie. And
right.
I just tell you, I feel like when I write it, I want people to be inside the story. Because I remember back in the day there were commercials is like, you know, I like to read a book and I feel like I'm a part of it. That always stuck with me. So when I get those reviews back from people, you know, they're genuine. And I had some lady, I guess she was at a book fair, and my book happened to be in a cart with one of the bookstores that was there, and she picked it up and she read it. She gave me an honest review on Amazon, and she was like, you know, I didn't really know what this book was about, but I read it, and I'm very excited to say that, you know, the author did a great job of putting the plot together and stuck to the storyline, and I can't wait to read more from them. And I'm like, wow, I have no clue who you are. So I mean that makes you feel good, and because I know as an artist, anyone you're always afraid to hear what people are going to say about your work, but I know for me, if you like it, you're going to love it. If you don't like it, you know, tell me, and you know I can accept it because I know where this came from. It came from the heart. It's not something that's out there, just put out there to just try to be a niche market. I put this out there because it was a healing process for me, and people are starting to feel that.
And so I would imagine that there's probably a pretty good dialogue between you and the editor, your editor.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
and so the process of crafting the story seems to be pretty solid. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was difficult for you at all.
No, it's not. I mean, like I said, I go to sleep, and the dreams, they pop into my head, and it's as vivid as like I'm awake. And I wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I jot some stuff down, and then when I'm ready to write, I know exactly what I'm writing about. I know where the story is going to go because it's almost like me being an athlete. I know what's going to happen on the field. I just got to do it. And so as a writer, I know what I want to write. I just got to set it up and follow that storyline. And to me, it's like me riding a bike. I love to write. I love the storylines. I know my characters because I feel like I am every one of my characters. So it's easy for me to write the story because I know what they're going to say. I know what they're thinking. I know how they feel. And so it's easy to put the book together for me. And my editor, Tamar, she really understands that. She doesn't take away from what my story is about. What she does is enhances the dialogue. She enhances, you know, the commentary because she knows exactly what the reader wants to see and hear. And so she does a great job of making sure my format and my writing style is on point.
And you know, it seems like you got a really fluid process. I mean, did the art of writing come hard to you, or was it fairly easy?
No, for me, it was actually very easy for me because I, you know, like I said, when I was younger, I used to love to write my own little stories. Even and when you find this box when you're about 25 years old of these corny little stories that I used to write, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But I saw that there was a passion of trying to write stories, and so for me, it's almost like, you know, somebody painting a picture. When I talk to artists, and they say, I see the picture already on the paper. It's already there. So all I do is just trace it out and I paint it in. So for me, I'm like, wow, that's how I see my book. The words are already there on the page. I just pencil them in because I've already seen it and I know where it's going. And so that's it. So for me, it's that process is fluid and it's fun.
And so let's talk about the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your time is taken up doing the business of being in business, and the 20% is your creativity. For you, well, I mean, that's usually what people who write are essentially entrepreneurs, unless they you know, unless they've got, you know, HarperCollins behind them or Penguin or Tor or something like that. and that's not me, and apparently that's not you. But give us kind of an idea of what you do in the service of getting your name out there.
Well, I've sat down with a bunch of my friends that are entrepreneurs. They own their own businesses, and some other authors that I know personally that I've talked to, and even some other authors that I might meet on the science fiction website or on Facebook. And you always ask questions. How do I get my name out there for people to see who I am? And
sure.
The thing is, from the beginning, Keshawn, you need a website. Okay, how do I get a website? I mean, so I figured out how to do it. I set up my own website where I can manage myself, and it's KeshawnDodds.com. It's right on Weebly.com. It's run through there. I can manage it, and it's been successful for me. Oh, you need a social media page. You need your social media pages so people can follow you. And I've done that. I set up my YouTube page, my Facebook, Instagram. I have a new app called Fuse where there are 3D pictures that move. It's really nice. So, but the best thing that I've learned, the best thing that I've learned from all of my friends that I've talked to, face-to-face is still one of the best things that you can do. Because when they see you, they know you, they're more, susceptible to being involved in who you are as a person that's supporting your work. So the more that you're out there and you're seeing people, the more that they want to be, supporting you and being there for you and growing with your success. So it's go ahead.
No. I mean, it obviously everything has a beginning, and getting your name known is a great beginning. But also, you're fortunate, and I think that you should. Why don't you describe a little bit about how these people who are involved in getting your animation, your motion comic, whatever it turns out to be, describe how that process happened, because people are always interested to see how people hit a certain threshold and maybe pop over. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. So this is it's the funny thing, because the process, people think that this is overnight. It's nowhere near overnight. It's years.
Oh, absolutely not.
Putting your own money into it. Going through you're thinking it's going to be that. This is the moment, and it's not. And I don't call them failures. I call them learning lessons. And so putting money into things that you think is going to make it work, and it doesn't. So, but the way that this happened is I had an opportunity to work with Leon Cosby's sons, because not only with my book, I wanted to be a little creative. So you know how Pokemon has their own card games? I wanted to create a MENZUO card game. So I did. I looked up, how to create a card game. I created the cards with my superheroes. But I said, I want to do something different. I want to kind of tie everything for me is tied into education, but I want to trick kids to not know that they're learning. So I created a card game that, every, superhero that you have, they have a certain amount of power points, and there's certain attacks that can take away your points. There's certain things that can add your power, can make you stronger. Right. And so I met with, it was so funny, Leon Cosby's sons, they were the test pilots of playing the game. And so they came to my office one day, and I gave them the directions. I gave them their cards, their 2 deck of cards, and they started playing. I could not believe that they sat there for 3 hours arguing and playing and doing everything, and they loved the game. And so I was like, wow. So that was 2 years before I met Leon, and then after that, he moved down to Atlanta, and I saw him on Facebook, and he was, saying he was launching, Cosby Media Productions print era. And I was like, okay, so let me give him a call. So I contacted him and said, let's talk. And so we talked on the phone. He was like, well, I know about your book. I like the character. Would like to see if you would want to come, be a part of the Cosby Media family. I'm like, oh, that's great, but I have one stipulation. My illustrator has to come with me because he's been with me from the beginning. And he's like, well, we have our own illustration team, so, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So I kind of pushed it to the side and said, thank you. A couple of days later, he calls back and was like, Keshawn, tell me about the book. And I was like, why? He's like, my son is trying to kill me. He's like, my son wants to kill me because he was like, you just got the phone with Keshawn? Sign him now. Get him now. And I'm like, what? He's like, my son loves your book. My kids love your book. Right. There's something about this book that's making me want to know more. So I said, okay. So I told him about it. Then we met with Leon and Braxton through the phone conference call, and they just laid out a whole plan for me, and I was like, oh, this is everything that I wanted. And it's like, the best thing is you still have full control of your work. And I'm like, oh, my goodness.
That's the best part. Yeah, that is the best part.
Yes. And so, I mean, it's a great marriage between myself and Cosmic Media Productions, and they have full faith in everything that I'm doing. And MENZUO is actually the launch of their superhero series that's going to be coming out from other authors. And so I'm in the forefront to lead the charge. And it's amazing that they had that much confidence in what I'm bringing to the table, and everything that I'm seeing that they're bringing to the table is making us even stronger as a team. And so it was a no-brainer for me to move forward with them. But it was all about me trying to find a way to contact somebody that would believe in my work just as me, and it happened.
And it looks like it's probably going to be a kind of a long-term relationship, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's the best thing about it. They picked up the series because they believed in the books, and they're like, wow, this is a great concept, and everything that I want to do educational-wise and also the branding, they're on the same page with it. So it fits. It was like a dream come true that this finally happened. But I want people to know this wasn't just Keshawn wrote a book, I contacted somebody, I'm here. No, this was years and years of struggle, doing it yourself, almost wanting to give up, but having people say, you have a great product, keep doing it. And, just keep pushing yourself to find the best way. Then once I kind of relaxed, doors opened up, and now they're just blown open. And I'm sitting in Philadelphia at my first Comic-Con, and I'm loving it.
and you have a costume for tomorrow, too.
Oh, yeah, and I have a costume, and that's what's so funny. I never thought I would be in the costume, so I said, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. I've been in the gym working out. So I have put on some muscle. I've cut down a lot of weight, and it looks great. So I put it on, and I'm like, oh, I'm really MENZUO. I'm feeling good.
There you go. Oh, and my only criticism of your entire enterprise is I hate going to a web page and having a whole bunch of music just jump up at me. All right. So
Right.
Turn it down. No, I'm just kidding, man.
No, it's when you open up KeshawnDodds.com, there's no music. It's when you get to the MENZUO page, that song is on there. That's made from my nephew. That's actually the score for the superhero. So you get to hear what MENZUO comes out to. So that's what it is.
every good hero has to have a good theme music,
Yeah, they absolutely do. That's what everybody's telling me. And now when you hear the song, it's gonna give you goosebumps. Trust me.
Okay.
The best thing is to hear my daughter. No, I said the best thing is to hear my daughter in the back seat of the car singing that song and bopping her head. It's so funny.
That is too cool. So I get the feeling that you are you're a singular writer. You write by yourself. You've got all of this in your head. Do you think that you're going to need any room? Well, do you have all 8 books written, first of all? Are they kind of just sitting in the back of your head?
No, they're written. They're written, but the best thing about it is, once I write it, I do give it to my illustrator, and he has a great vision of how he sees it too. And so I take those ideas. Because he's like, oh, this should happen here because this is where it was going, and then you kind of went off. And I'm like, okay, so I take those suggestions. I do write it myself because to me, it's really hard for me. It's really hard for me to work with someone else on their work because somebody asked me, like, Keshawn, I have this great idea for a book. I want you to write it with me. I said, if I write it, it's my book. I said, I can't do that. I'm not that talented to write a book with somebody because right now I feel like I have so much of my own. It's hard.
Well, and collaborations are not always easy. I mean, they're
right.
You have to sublimate your own ego for the good of the group. You can't just be sitting there going, what I think is law and I'm smarter than everybody else. I mean, that's just not a very collaborative environment. And some people work that way and some people don't, I was going to ask you, do you see yourself ever coming to the point where you might be doing collaborative work, maybe after these 8 are done and you go on to the next creative universe?
Well, absolutely. I mean, what's happening with Cosmic Media Productions, you know how you have your Avengers, how every superhero has their own story, but they all come together in one. And so I know I'm going to have to collaborate with our team of superheroes that we have, and that's going to be a lot of fun because I know my personality, my superhero, in a storyline that either Braxton comes up with, we're going to follow that storyline, and I know he's receptive to having our input. And so I think that's going to be my first opportunity to work with several other writers and to make it one powerful story. And I know that way would be perfect because it's not me trying to figure out a story with somebody else. It's something that we know where it's going to go, and so we want to put it together and make it the best possible. So the Eagles will be checked at the door on this project because we want it to be very powerful and people to see, oh, my goodness, this is, those group of superheroes are here to stay. So I think that's going to be a great process of doing that work because that is going to happen soon.
And now, Braxton used to be following me on Twitter. Not that I tweet anything, but they seem like no. I just thought about that. But it seems like they are really putting together kind of almost like an old-style media company, but yet it's still, because they're working in different genres and different media tracks, they're becoming, I think the common term is a transmedia company, because, you're looking at books, you're looking at scripts, you're looking at animation, you're looking at possibly movies. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep, I mean, they have music as well, and I mean, it's a great thing because they have that team that's put together, and it's not like they're spreading their wings way too wide. They have everything under that control of making sure that everybody gets to feel like they're the most important person under Cosmic Media Production. So nobody feels left out, which it's amazing to me, and it works so well. That's what I mean. We get updates daily. We talk to each other. Our authors team, we all work together to help each other become better. And I have one of my childhood idols is, you have Gail Devers, our one of our U.S. Olympian hurdlers, is an author through Cosmic Media Productions. And so you get to hear her stories. You get to give her ideas. I'm giving Gail Devers ideas on how to do something. That's crazy. But, they're very receptive. All illustrators are very receptive. We all help each other. So it's that team, that family is great. Be sure to tell Braxton I said, hey.
Anyway, when you see the bigger project, when do you see the bigger project starting? Because that sounds pretty ambitious, but it also sounds pretty good. Like you guys have a really good a good organization, and you have an organized approach. Yeah, I mean, I know we have a few other books that are going to be launched this year and probably next year. That's going to be bringing into some new superheroes to the company and out to the world. So I would say probably 3 to 4 years, you'll probably see that whole migration of all of them together, and that process of all of us working to make that story possible. So it's going to be a little bit of time, but I know during that our period of waiting, we're already in talks with our own personal books to make sure that our books tie into what's going to be happening in the future. So you'll hear certain things in my book that kind of reference to Hero City, and something in Braxton's book that reference to Hero City. And then it's like we're planting seeds into your mind because it's going to be coming. You're going to read my book. Oh, why did Keshawn say that, and why did this person say it? So now it's coming. Oh, they're all together. So that's what it is. So it's a process that we're setting up as we speak. That's very cool. What about, so you've got your own, universe. What if it gets to the point where somebody comes to you and says, hey, we would like to purchase your intellectual property and create XYZ out of it? Do you feel very proprietary about it and less likely to give it up? or do you think that, okay, yeah, I can give this up, give it to somebody else, take a chunk of money, and then go create something just as good or better behind it?
Well, that's the funny thing because I had the opportunity to sit with George Birch, who is the vice president at Hasbro over in Longmeadow, Mass. And he gave me the opportunity to see how the big fish eats little fish in 5 seconds. And because he does this a lot, because a lot of people approach him. You understand, they approach him to try to sell their product. Sure. I wasn't trying to sell my product. He was like, well, this is what I want to do. I want to take MENZUO. I want to take it, buy you out, give you what you need, and then we can take it and do what we want. And how does that sound? So he threw out a number, and I'm like, no, I can't do that because I can't see where this is going. So for me, with this story, because of how good it is to me and how much it means to me, I couldn't sell it just to go create something else. I want to see where it goes educationally. I want to see where it goes from the ground up to, if it happens to be a movie, if it happens to be, bigger than me, I'd like to be there with it growing. And because to me, I told myself it's not, I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing to change lives. That's what I'm doing. The money will come if it comes. So this is my art that I love, and if people buy it, money comes, and I just reinvest it into building stronger minds. That's what it's for.
I think that's partly because you come from an educational background, a mentoring background. Right. So for you, it's an avenue to the mentoring of young minds. I mean, that's my take.
Right.
and so,
right.
If that's the case, then there, and as long as you've got a roof over your head and everybody's provided for, then there's really no real impetus, to sell out, because that's essentially what it is, or to sell it and
right.
let somebody else take it from you. So the fact that you've got study guides and things like that, which is something that people should who listen to the show. If anybody's an educator, knowing that you have study guides for the first book, and I imagine you're probably going to do that for the rest, the other 8.
Oh yeah, all 8. All 8 I have a study guide.
So there you go.
So,
you've got a 4th grade on up educational tool with a cool story that grabs people and pulls them in.
Right. And so that's why I couldn't give it up, because it's so much more than just me trying to make money. And that's what George saw, and he was like, I really want to help you because you are not about chasing money. You didn't come in here to sell me a product. You are the product. That's amazing. So I mean, it comes off genuine. I just try to find a way to, my biggest thing is everybody needs money to get to more people. So I'm just looking for support. I don't go out asking for money. I try to get it through purchasing the books, get to download the music, watch the documentary, put a review on Amazon, because those help. Those help to push the book. And so that gives me my foundation to get out to help more people.
And let's be honest, the last thing you want to do is you don't want to hear your daughter saying, "Daddy, how come all your characters turned white?" If Hasbro buys you out.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that was actually my little nightmare there. That, oh my gosh, this is not who it's going to be. This is not what I want. Right. And then it's, for me, that's in my heart. That's in my heart of saying, wow, I did that for that. No, that doesn't work. So I stay true to myself.
Okay, so you have gotten a lot of traction in a very short amount of time. If you were going to give somebody who is just starting out with their own creative universe some advice, what would you be telling them?
I would actually tell them, stick to who you are, put everything that you can into it, because the only person that can stop you is you. I want people to understand that, it's going to be difficult, and a lot of people may doubt you, but if you believe in yourself, they're going to come around. You're going to have people that are going to support you. They're going to have people that doubt you, but they only make you stronger as a writer, and also in a person that's going to be doing some great things. So, believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself.
Sure. Somebody, I'm sorry, I missed this question. Someone in the chat room was asking, how is the card game going? Is that available generally to the public?
Oh no, it's not. What actually the card game is so funny. I'm trying to get it published pretty soon. I'm going to be meeting with a gaming company up in my area in Massachusetts, and we're going to see how we can develop it to get it out into the stores, or just to make sure it's available where people can pick it up. Because I took my time in developing it so people can play. There's an easy way to play and there's a difficult way to play. So little kids can play when they're 5, 6, 7 years old, and then adults can play. So you have all these tournaments that can go along, but it's a process. So I really want to make sure that I can do it right, so people know when it's out there. Oh yeah, this is that MENZUO card game that I can play.
Man, so I mean, you've already got your what they call your transmedia platform for your universe. What's going to be like when you see this as maybe a weekend cartoon or something, or a weekend 3D adventure, or are you shooting for? I mean, let's be honest. Are you shooting for something like maybe a 2D or a 3D movie of your universe, in your universe?
Oh, I mean, a 2D or 3D movie would be amazing. I think at that point I would look up and say, Marcus, we did it. Everybody knows who MENZUO is. And so, I mean, it's just it doesn't stop me. It doesn't change me. It just makes me so proud that people have really embraced, the love of what I have with writing. And it's just going to make me want to do more to help people, see that, okay, I'm accessible and you can see how I did it, and I'm going to show you how you can get there too. So, I want to make sure the doors are open for people.
Right. And that's kind of good to hear from somebody who honestly doesn't believe that the art of creativity is a zero-sum game, where if somebody else makes $1, you consider that being a dollar being plucked out of your pocket. There's plenty of room for all of us. And one of the things that I've noticed in, I would just say, commercial media, just general American culture, is that they're not coming up with very good ideas, very, very many new ideas. And so I think that's also a reason why we're seeing more and more creativity, art, media, comics, books, music, things like that from black creatives picking up a little more steam than it would have in another circumstance. Yes, the bar is lower to getting our stuff out there and having people see it, but also I think that we generate a certain amount of creativity that's been lacking for almost a generation in larger American culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Opportunity to show people that, we're as talented as anyone else, and more so, we have more talent. And our storylines are just as strong, and people can grow up and have fun with our characters for years, and we can redo our characters 20 times, and people think it's new. But it's open for us to be out here and ready, and I'm happy that these doors are finally open and people are paying attention.
So you're going to be at the con tomorrow. For anybody who's listening, who's in the Philly area.
Philadelphia. Yep.
So they could see you in your full MENZUO regalia, because you have the costume, and for those of us who can't attend, we'll be seeing your pictures popping up later. If you were to tell somebody, again, going back to people who may be coming behind you trying to do what you're doing, what's been the hardest part of you, of you having put this story together?
Oh, the hardest part was really making sure that, you have a good editor. For me, your story doesn't make sense if people can't get off of the first page with 50 mistakes. It has to be written well. People have to be able to follow it and understand that, it went through a proper editing process through a professional editor. So I tell people, the story for me, the story is easy to write. It's easy. The hard part is having an editor go through your work and being critical of it to make sure that the work is basically almost as perfect as it can be coming out. So
Sure.
I tell just be patient and find a good editor. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't care what anybody says, but you can't edit your own work.
No,
you just
can't.
It's like
no.
It's like being your own attorney. You know, if you're an attorney,
work.
representing yourself in court. And the thing is people don't realize how magical their mind is. Most people's minds, when they're reading their own work, they can't see a mistake.
Right.
Because their mind is supplying what's supposed to be there. So someone asked me earlier today, when I edit my own stuff, and this is before I send it to the editor, what do I do? And you know what I do? I read the book backwards. That way, I look at each sentence separately without getting into the rhythm of the story.
Of the story, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and that's about the only way that I know how to do it. I don't know if that's the best way or not, but I sure catch a lot more mistakes when I'm reading backwards because my mind is not playing that trick on me where it's telling me, no, everything's cool, just relax, keep reading. No, don't worry about it, I got this. And of course, you've got all kinds of things happening, on the page that you never would have known otherwise. So,
absolutely right.
The editing is crucial in your mind. Are there any other places that were the hardest for you to get into your writing groove or to get to your destination?
Oh, really finding the time. Time is crucial. It's like I said, it's like working out. You have to have a set time when you go to the gym. You have to have a set time when you're writing. And you got to make sure that and I tell people, I give myself at least 2 hours a night when I know I want to write a book. And my wife knows it. She goes to bed early, thank God, and my daughter goes to bed early. And I'm a night owl, so from 9:30 to 11:30, I can write. I can take my time, and everything is shut off. Or I put my headphones on and I put on my favorite rapper when I'm going to a fight scene, and that's Busta Rhymes. And I put that on, and it gets me hyped up, and I can write my stories. And so, I use music a lot when I'm writing. And it's in my headphones, and I can write out what I want. And, next thing you know, 2 hours is over. Sometimes I close, my pages, and I go to bed. Sometimes I continue to write because I'm so deep into my stories. So the hard part is finding time and just sticking to it. Because, it's like working out. You can't get better unless you work out.
Yeah, and that's something that I've often said in a lot of interviews, that I treat writing like a part-time job.
Right.
And if you treat writing like a part-time job, then you will finish what you're writing, because my method is like yours. At 10 p.m. I stop what I'm doing every night, and then from 10 to 1 or 10 to 2, I'm writing or editing. And like you said, it's just like going to the gym. If you build a good habit, the good habit is going to benefit you. All right, so you've told us about the hardest parts about writing this. I mean, obviously, with your best friend passing from cancer at such a young age, and kind of doing this as a tribute to him, with him in it. You're in there, he's in there, your daughter's in there. What made this easy for you? What were the things that were maybe the easiest and the most joyful parts of writing for you?
The see the characters in their personalities, the funny personalities that I put in and the personalities that I've taken from people that I know that that they're in your life. You kind of accidentally do it, but you see some of the characters that you have and their attitudes. That's the fun part, when you put them into the stories and you can see how funny they act or certain things that they do. And, it just makes your story more fun, and it's more enjoyable because you're relating to all the people that are with you. And so that's the fun part about writing. When you're in your story, you get to see things. And, sometimes when I'm writing, it was so funny because when my editor got the book and there were certain parts that I wanted to be funny, and when she got to it and she would write her notes on the side and it was like, LOL, that was hilarious. I don't know how you did that. I'm just like, so you become part of that. That's the fun part of writing, when you put your own spirit into it. And so everybody's going to enjoy what you have out there.
Yeah, validation is pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. It's the best part. It's the scary part, but it's also the best part.
Yeah, but it also keeps you going because it's definitely encouragement, you know?
Right.
And so, obviously you're in there, your best friend's in there, your daughter's in there. Do you actually draw all of your characters from people that you know, which is kind of easy, because if you know somebody's personality pretty well and you settle it into your story, I would imagine that it's much, much easier to create three-dimensional characters.
Oh yeah, and that's what it is. Is some of the characters that I kind of see when I'm leading up to it, or when I introduce the character, how I describe it, it kind of comes off sometimes. Crystal Hall is that's my mother. Her attitude is so sweet, and she's so sweet. She's always protective, and then. I have, Stephen Hall, who's the father. Oh, my gosh, that's my brother, or that's my dad, how he acts. It's just hilarious. So you get to see that, and I have certain other characters. Oh, that's my football coach. He's just crazy. So so there's certain things that you do, and you get to see how you want that character to be, and you kind of mirror them off of people that you know, and it makes your story more enjoyable and easier for you to write because you know how they are going to be. Yeah.
And then the part, obviously you have the universe that you've created, and I guess the inspiration for the story arcs is things that have happened near you, around you, the friends that you've had and things like that. When you look at all of that in totality, you have to have a pretty good feeling about the fact that not only have you been creative and you've written something that's laudable and you've written something that's catching on, but to know that it's also a tribute to the relationship you had with your best friend. Is she not supposed to be in there? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no no, this is my boys that had the door closed, but they
open the door. Let the fire out. Let the fire get out. But I mean, you've written a great tribute, and that's going to stand the test of time, and it does, man, it makes your friend live on forever. It makes you live on forever. Yeah, and there's really no better tribute to somebody who meant so much to you, somebody who was, your best friend as long as you had lived with him.
Right. And that was something that, I never thought I'd be able to get, past or understanding why this book came about. But, being a tribute to Marcus was just amazing to me to have that done.
Mm-hmm. And, to just have all of a sudden, something like that happen is devastating to most people. I mean, how old were you at the time?
I was 18. It was a week and a half before Christmas, and understand that was the first person I always called during Christmas at 5:30 in the morning, and we both always said, "It's like, what did you get?" So to have that part, that's just what it is. You always have that, and so you lose that, and his parents are very sweet. At 5:30 in the morning, they, Velma, she called me. It's like, what did you get? And
that's cool.
I laughed. I was like, thank you. I really, really did need that. And she was like, I needed it too, because I always knew one of you two were going to call, and it was just so funny that you guys did that every year. I mean, in that 18, we did it at 17 years old just to see, what's up, what did you get?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. And how does his family feel about your tribute?
Oh, I mean, every time, I get to talk, they love it. It's enjoyable. And the other thing that we're doing now, with everything that we're doing educationally, I already talked to Marcus's older brother, Alonzo. We're going to be doing the Marcus McDowell Foundation for education and also for cancer. So we already involved in the American Cancer Society walks. We donate money there, but we're also going to do some things and try to start a scholarship in his name once we, get everything in place, because, this is where it comes from. And they're very proud, and, they just understand that everything is so powerful that, just to have their pride in just saying, you know, I love you so much for doing this, and you know, it just makes us proud that Marcus is a part of the story because that's where it started.
Well, I mean, that's all pretty damn remarkable, and I, you know, I don't want to say that I'm proud of you, but I am proud of you. But
well,
I really respect what you've done, not just creatively, but the fact that, you know, you have such a level head about it. You know, you had an inspiration that really meant something to you, and you went and you did it. You know, a lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of people might have wallowed in self-pity.
And, you know, I couldn't do that, you know, after meeting with his parents and also his dad, mainly having that conversation. You know, it made me realize that, you know, I got to live life for the both of us. And so from there, moving on, when I played football, I wore the number 2. And so I was living life for me and Marcus, the number 2.
Right.
And that's my favorite number. So I use that as, you know, that's how we go about life. When we do things, you know, I don't want to be stagnant. I was knocked down very hard. I mean, never thought I'd be knocked down as hard as that can be, but it made me appreciate life so much and understanding that, you know, every breath that you take is special and do something good with it and also give back. So it changed my perspective on how to live life.
Well, and the other part that I like is the mentoring that you do, which is also inspiring for young minds. I mean, you know, it's not everybody who is a creative who is that generous with their soul and with their life to bring other people up behind them. So, I mean, these are all great things and great examples that we should all be taking away from, you know, what you're doing, what kind of creativity you have, and also look at the spin-offs. You know, you've got the cancer stuff that you're doing. You have, I mean, you're getting dressed up in a costume, for God's sake, for tomorrow. I hope it's not too hot in the hall. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, it's a little breathable, so I'm good.
All right. Are there any tights involved? Just tell us that.
Well, I have a wetsuit that goes under, and then it's the frame that goes above it. So yeah, I am wearing tights. I am. But I'm not just bulging out of tights only. That's it.
Oh no. And I wasn't trying to imply anything either.
You got my boys laughing in here now. They're like, this man's in tights.
Well, I mean, like I said, we're gonna see soon enough when you post up your pictures.
Yes, you will.
And I think, you know, we only have a few minutes left. Is there anything that you want to talk about that we may have missed, or something that occurs to you?
Well, the only thing I want to really talk about is just, please, when you see other authors, please support them. Go to their website. If their books are downloadable, download them. Leave a review. You know, get involved. Just that means more to any one of us, that, you know, people are really going to get involved and get to know you, because the more people that I meet that are authors, they're very genuine. They love what they do, and a lot of them aren't out here to hustle. They're out here because they love the art. They love the art, and they love to have people that they can talk to and relate to. Nobody's looking for a billion followers just to buy my work. I want people to really be involved, and I know a lot of the authors that I know, they want people to be involved and talk to, so they can create better stories and they have a good following, because all of that stuff works hand in hand.
And you know what? The thing about BlackScienceFictionSociety.com is that you have so many creatives, you know, getting close to 5,000. Well, I don't know if all 5,000 are creatives. Let me take that back. But you have enough creatives around who are doing things, and a new collaboration just started up a couple of weeks ago. You have one member who has a writers get together on Google Hangouts on Tuesdays. You know, these are the kinds of people that you probably want to spend some time with, because they're not selfishly motivated to just dropping in and say, hey, buy my crap, and then disappearing.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, because there's a lot of that goes around, and you know, it's tough enough being a creative. Okay, it's tough enough being an entrepreneur, and the one thing that you and I both have discussed, it's very, very hard to figure out and get your name out there, because that's the name of the game, getting people to know who you are. I think the collaboration you're going to have coming up, I think that's going to suit you very well. I think it's going to be very laudable, and that I'm hoping to see much success out of that for you. Mention my name. And other things. I'm kidding, man. No, I am so kidding. I'm a little bit like you. You know, I have one collaboration that I'm doing with someone who's a little busy right now, but it's a great story, and I think that she's going to bring a lot to the table. So, you know, people who can collaborate. People who write singular, still write, just keep writing, and try to maintain, you know, contact with other creatives like yourself, because we can all learn from each other. We can definitely all learn from each other. And last but not least, I imagine, I mean, we know that your daughter supports you, right?
Yes.
And your wife, how is she about, you know, you said she goes to bed early, she lets you do your writing and stuff like that. It sounds like you have a very supportive environment that really helps.
Oh yeah, my wife Tammy is amazing. You know, when I don't drive her nuts with all my typing and my writing. But, you know, she understands that how important this is to me, and how, you know, I could be doing other things. I could be going out partying, drinking every night, or, you know, in the club doing what I shouldn't be doing as a husband. But I'm at home and I'm writing. And then I'm going out and I'm in encouraging kids. So she's like, you know, everything is positive. And so she gives me feedback. And, you know, she's one of my best critics of, you know, this is why did you do that? You know, those nagging wife questions, but they make sense after I do it, and it's dumb and wrong. And she's like, told you so. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But, you know, she's very supportive, and she's my best friend. And, you know, I couldn't be where I am today if she, you know, wasn't supporting me and also encouraging me to move forward.
Right. All right, so we're winding down to the last few minutes. Normally, Jarvis is here. He's out doing something. I have no idea what he's doing. Well, no, I don't. I don't. You know, it's not my week to keep up with him. You know. So normally he thanks everybody who supports the show. Thanks everybody for showing up. Especially thanks to you, man. Was I right? Did this feel like 2 hours?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't at all.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I always hope that people have fun, and I would like for you to, you know, seriously start posting. If you can stop in, at least put in the appearance that you're going to have at the con tomorrow in the calendar, in case anybody wants to try to catch up with you. And
will do.
You know, later on when you get bigger, let's have you on again and see where things are taking you.
Oh, I definitely will. That's not even a problem.
Yeah, and I am serious. I joke, but I am serious. Tell Braxton I said hello, and that I appreciated him following me on Twitter. Okay.
Oh, I definitely will. All
right, and for those of you listening, and those of you who've been hanging around listening to the show or in the chat room, thank you very much for coming. I want to remind anybody who picks this up as a podcast, this is a live broadcast that usually begins right around 9 p.m. Eastern Time every Friday when we have a guest. And this is the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. And please support us. Tell your friends. You know, find us some high-ticket sponsors. Do what you can to help the site out, because it's a great place for people to meet and to hang out. After I stop the recording, hang on for a second, just in case anybody has any questions they want to type in the chat room, if you don't mind. Is that okay, Keshawn?
Oh, that's no problem.
Okay, if you got a couple minutes, I want to thank everybody, and we will see you next week. And until then, have a great week ahead.